Hi, it's Adam from Alan's BMX. Today we're going to go over how to fit some tyres and a freewheel to a pair of Skyways. So I have a new pair of Skyways here, and we're going to fit some Harrow tyres and a bog standard 16 tooth freewheel. So step one is select your tyre. Here's some Harrow HPFs. We sell these in store as well as the Skyways if you're interested. And then the first step is to get one side of the tyre beading onto the well of the inside of the rim here. And also something you want to look for is just a little quality of finish thing. Any logos on the tyre, such as this where it says Harrow, you want that to be above the valve. Doesn't make any mechanical difference, it just looks nicer when everything's put together. So put your tyre down on a solid surface like this, get your wheel, and you can put the wheel onto one side of the tyre just like that, and then slowly you can make your way around, literally just with your hands for this first bit, and you can push one side of the tyre into the inside of the wheel there. It's going to get tight the further you go, but you should always be able to do it with your hands. And then once one side is on, you can put this to one side. And again, if you need to adjust your logo to be in the valve area, do it now, because if you do it once the tube is in, it's going to twist the valve around to one side. So we can put this to one side because now we need the tube. Tube on these is just a bog standard 20-inch tube. I've got some here. A little trick for fitting tubes as well, don't try to fit them just from new like this. Always put some air in the tyre. I've got a pump here. You don't need to go mad, just literally a few pumps so that the tube sort of takes shape and becomes round. Just like that. And what that means is not only is it going to be easy to manage, easier to fit, it's also less likely to pinch when you're actually putting the tyre on at the final stage. It's just going to get it out the way. Cool. So now you get your wheel, find your valve stem here, and then the first thing you want to do is get the tyre out the way, just like that with your hand. Put the valve through the valve hole like this. Now, especially with Skyways, this valve is going to want to wiggle its way out as you're fitting it. So what I actually recommend is get the valve cap and put it on, and that'll just stop the valve from shaking out basically. So once it's at that stage, you can then get the tyre the other side of the wheel like this, and then with your thumbs on top here, you can just tuck the tube in and underneath like that. And then that's what you're going to do all the way around, just literally with your hands. Tuck the tube up into the tyre, and this is why we pre-inflated it, just makes this bit so much easier. Like that. And then all you need to do is put the other side of the tyre into the inside of the wheel. And to do that, 9 times out of 10 you can use your hands, although that is a bit of a practice thing. I'll show you quickly how to do that. I'm going to try and do it the opposite way. I'd usually do this away from me. For the camera, I'm going to try and do it towards me. So basically with your hands, literally just get a point of the wheel, doesn't matter where, and you can just around like that. You see, you can just tease the wheel, the tyre, sorry, into the wheel. Like that. Cool. What you might struggle with is if you've never done that before, that is a bit of a practice thing. It's easier with your thumbs as well. If you do it away from you can just get more leverage. See, like that. If you're struggling with that, you can use tyre levers. Now, with Skyways, it is crucial you use plastic tyre levers. Don't use any metal tyre levers because it will just put a big gouge in the wheel. It's plastic. So always use plastic or nylon tyre levers. You're not going to damage it. And if you are struggling to get it on with your hands, you literally just get the tyre lever, and towards one edge, don't go in the middle here, it's not going to work. So towards one edge of where the beading needs to go in, you just get this underneath, and you can tease the beading up into the wheel like that. And then pop that on. And then once the tyre is on the wheel, we inflate it. Now with Skyways, it's a bit of a tricky one because tyres will always have a recommended inflation around the edge. Let me see if I can quickly find it on here. Okay, so here we go, perfect. It says inflation to 100 PSI. With Skyways, ignore that. You never want to go above 40 PSI with a Skyway wheel. The cinching on the inside of the rim just can't handle as high a pressure as a metal one would. So yeah, never really go above 40 with a Skyway. Cool. And now it's in, obviously we can remove this, the valve's not going anywhere. Just pull this out. And then with your thumb, push down here and it'll stop from retracting it back in like that, like this. Cool. And again, we want to go to 40 PSI or lower, never exceed 40 PSI. like that. Fantastic. Valve cap back on for the finishing touch. All right, the tyre's on. Brilliant, you might be thinking. Depends on the tyre. This tyre's not so bad. It's got quite a rigid wall, but certain tyres, I'm thinking specifically Panaracers or Comp 3s, Tiogas, they have a very flimsy tyre wall. So what that means is, and Skyways are notorious for it, the beading's not going to be sat right. As you spin the wheel, maybe you'll be able to see it here. Actually, this one's not so bad, but there'll be flat spots in the tyre where it sort of goes up and down as you spin it. That's because the beading is caught on the inside of the wheel before the top. Now, there's a few ways to fix that. The most reliable, believe it or not, just put this on your bike and ride it. As you ride the bike and you hit the bumps, it's gonna cause the beading to pop up and cinch properly on the rim. Another way, if you don't want to do that, is you can just let the air out of the tyre. Like so, until it's nice and flat. Cool, and you can get a mixture. I've got one pre-done here in a spray bottle. This is literally just water and like fairy liquid dish soap. And what you're gonna do, you're gonna literally just squirt this between the beading and the inside of the rim. And then as you inflate it, it's gonna cause the inside of the tire to slip up and really catch in that cinch there underneath the hook. The other thing is that you can do, which is a bit more nerve-wracking, you can overinflate the tyre. So, you know, I'd say never go above 40. If you take it to about 60 or 70, literally the pressure of the tube will sometimes force the tyre to cinch. Use that as a last case scenario though, because it is quite nerve-wracking. Yeah. Cool, I'm just gonna inflate this one back up and hopefully the beading will sit a bit better now there's a bit of lubricant. Okay, and that is more or less the basics on how to fit any tyre to any Skyway wheel, really. The beading sat a little bit better, especially on that one side where the fairy liquid was. Cool. The next thing you'll need to know, really, once that's all done, is how to fit the freewheel. So, I have a freewheel here, an ETC 16 tooth standard. These Skyways, the modern ones, and most of the older ones even, come with the bigger freewheel thread. So what that means is it can take a 16 tooth or larger freewheel. It won't take a 15 tooth or smaller. It just won't. The threads are the wrong size. So 16 tooth, which was standard back in the day, 1644 gearing. Make sure you grease it. This one's actually pre-greased, but I've got some here anyway. You can never use too much grease. When it comes to threads or metal on metal, there's no such thing as too much. Just put that in there. Now, fitting a freewheel, you can actually do it with your bare hands. You don't need any tools whatsoever. Just make sure the threads line up. And standard right hand thread, so righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And literally with your hands, you can just thread the freewheel onto the wheel like that. Perfect. And as you fit this into the bike and you do that first pedal rotation, it's really going to tighten it down for you with the pedals. So yeah, you can fit it with your hands. To take it off, if you ever need to, you do need a specific Freewheel Tool. Now there are a few of these, depending on the splines on the inside of the freewheel. Now I've got this one here, which does the two super common ones, but there are a few more. So we've got the smaller ones here. This is usually for 15 tooth and lower. And the bigger one here, which is for this one, 16 tooth and higher. And I'm sure you can already see how it works basically, but I'll show you anyway. The splines, the teeth of this, just fit into the splines on the freewheel like that, and you back it off lefty-loosey, just like that, you see. Now, that brings me to my next point. When you fit in the freewheel, it's crucial you fit it the right way. And what I mean by that is, the splines here need to be facing outwards. This will thread on the wrong way. It won't stop you from doing it. But if you do that, you'll never get the freewheel off of the wheel, especially after it's been ridden. There's nothing on the other side to get any kind of tool or any kind of purchase on whatsoever. So make sure you're fitting it with the splines facing outwards. I've seen a few repairs in the past come into my workshop. They've put the freewheel on backwards. It's game over. Basically, I've had to grind it off and risk damaging the hub. Cool. Another thing to look for as well, when you're fitting the tyre to the wheel, a lot of tyres have specific directions that they rotate. It will always say on the tyre wall, if that's the case somewhere. With the Haro ones, it is actually in this logo here. These arrows basically want to be moving forwards with the rotation of the wheel. If those arrows aren't there, always look at the tread. The tread will always make a vaguely arrow-shaped pattern, and again, it wants to move forward. On the rear wheel, that's important because obviously this has a specific drive. On the front wheel, you can basically do it anyway because the wheel will mount either way, on these 5-spoke ones, obviously. And then once you're all said and done, you want to match your brake pad colour to the Skyway you've got. They come in all sorts of colours under the rainbow, and you need a pad to match it. Otherwise, if you just use a bog standard black brake pad on, say, a white Skyway, you're going to get horrible dirty marks around it. So whatever colour Skyway you're running, always use a matching brake pad. Failing that, if you can't find the same coloured brake pad, we actually sell them in clear. Clear brake pads are just as good. They're not going to leave as horrible a mark. They're not as ideal, they will still leave some marks, but not as much as if you're just running a bog standard black brake pad. So yeah, clear will do for most colours basically. I believe that is it, guys. If you do have any further questions, leave them in the comments or email us, phone us. We'll do our best to help you. I've been Adam. Thank you for watching.